Welcome to this little series where I want to highlight some of the less popular shows of this anime season that I believe will be worth to watch. Popularity is based on Mao, and I deem shows outside of the top 15 to be less popular. So of course, this does not mean that the shows are meant to be obscure or anything, it's just that they are less watched than others. So yeah, intro aside, let's jump into it. For this hype up, I want to talk about Sayonara Watashi no Cramer, which is a show about girls playing football. The one that involves your foot and a ball. Sorry if my American accent confused you there. I'll start off by saying this is a manga written by the same author as Your Lie in April. I haven't personally watched or read that, but I have heard that it is very, very sad. So, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I mean, it's technically a soft spoiler, but like, this story is not sad. I have read the manga, so I know the story for this anime. So I'll promise you that it's not sad. So just, there you go. So yeah, sorry if that's a soft spoiler to you, but at the same time, the only reason you're thinking that is because of the author. So like, that's slightly unfair to the story. So I'll take the spoiler and move on, I guess. Now before moving on, there's one quick thing we should point out. Look at this. Alright, how does this art style look to you? If you hate it, just don't watch this, right? I've seen a lot of people complaining about the art style, which is fair enough. I mean, it looks kind of weird, admittedly. And I'll just say this up front, I'm not going to guarantee the story to be a masterpiece, because it won't be. I just think this is a good story. I enjoyed reading the manga. And I would say this story will be most appreciated by actual football fans, though I think anyone that enjoys anyone that enjoys sports shows, sports series, should be able to enjoy this as well. But if you don't fall into that category, this may not be for you, and if you hate the art style on top of that, then just give this a pass. In terms of the actual story, it's pretty straightforward for a sports series. You have a lot of promising players joining a really shit team. Joining a school that has a shit football team, basically. And ultimately, their goal ends up being that they want to beat the best team that is in Japan. Simple stuff. But I believe that it's the characters that end up making the show pretty fun. Like the way they play football, why they play it, how they view it, and things like that are what make this show. It's pretty entertaining, and the characters have some thought put into them. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that they're like the most complex characters in the world, but for what they are, and for this story, they work pretty well. From what I've seen for this animation, I think it's decent. I mean, I don't really know what I'm supposed to expect for sports anime, because I haven't watched many. Like, I've watched Hajime no Ippo, which is boxing, so that's just like, it's essentially just fighting, which there's lots of anime of. And that's pretty much it. So I don't know what to expect. So I don't actually have much to compare this to. I don't know if this is bad. It looks alright. I mean, admittedly, it makes me slightly worried for the future in case Blue Lock ever gets adapted. Because that series is screaming for good animation. But anyway, more on that in another video. Spoiler. But yeah, I'd say for the story, the animation works fine. They showed what they need to show, and I assume they'll continue doing that. Now again, the show will be most enjoyed by football fans, since there are quite a few references to real footballers and like real tactics or real managers, things like that, which will be more appreciated by people that actually know what they're referring to. Like, even in the first episode, it ends with a striker scoring a goal, celebrating by pointing in the sky and saying, "Why always me?" in English. If you know, you know. Most of these references are essentially just name drops, but it's still pretty cool, and there is, again, some genuine thought put into like the tactics and the characters and all of that. The tactics and the name drops themselves. So all the results and all of like the thoughts of what the characters and how they want to play football, like everything makes sense. Oh, and also speaking of references, the title of this show is Farewell, My Dear Cramer. You may be wondering who the hell Cramer is, since that is not the name of a character in the story. But Cramer is a real person, so let me catch you up on the lore real quick. Detmar Cramer, I probably butchered that pronunciation, was a German coach who essentially brought footballing success to Japan. Like, he coached them in the early 60s, and essentially laid the foundations for Japan, who went on to win bronze in the 1964 Olympics in Mexico City. And a lot of that success is attributed to him. He passed away in 2015, and this manga started publishing in 2016. So it was like a sort of tribute to him, so to speak. So that's where the title comes from. It's not actually like that relevant to the story. Like towards the end, this isn't really a spoiler. Doesn't mean anything. Like they do that thing where they say the title, you know? So yeah, that's about the only relevance there is to the title. So yeah, not much, but there's your trivia, in case you care. So yeah, overall, I think you can expect a decent experience from this show. It won't be like the best thing in the world, but if you're a fan of sports shows, especially if you're a fan of football, definitely give this a watch. I will say another potential issue, like the story kind of just stops. Like here, I'm a college student, I have notebooks. Like let's say this is the story, like, you know, start, end. It kind of just ends here. I mean, I get why they did it. It didn't need to go on further. I just would have liked it to go a bit longer, but, you know, expect that, I guess. But it's not really that big of a deal to the story. And again, if you aren't a fan of sports anime, especially if you hate the art style, then just, this won't be for you. If this seems interesting, keep an eye on it for the upcoming weeks. So yeah, bye.